Okay, so since the start of 2024, I've been conducting a little content experiment on TikTok. This is because there's a lot of noise nowadays, all about the TikTok jail where you get less than 300 views. But on top of that, where the music industry is now for promoting your music, how and what is the best way to promote your music as an independent artist? Well, as someone who releases music, I really wanted to delve into that and do an experiment for myself to showcase the results to you guys. So if you're someone who's releasing music and you want to know the best way to market your music, hopefully this video is going to help you today. For a bit of context, I release pop music. I've been releasing pop music now for 5 to 6 years, and I've always had around 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, but it's never really gone above that. I've tried a lot of different things, everything from Facebook ads to playlist placements to promoting with content, even DMing thousands of people when music gets released to try and drive traffic to my music and to get more streams as well as fans in the process. Now, the issue I've had with all of them forms of marketing in the past is a lot of them have their drawbacks. For example, Spotify playlist placements, it's been all about getting the streams, but you don't really get any fans from it because people are only listening to your song because they're listening to the playlist, not your song. And then with Facebook ads, the problem I have with that a lot of the time is even though it's really great for getting new people, real people as well, to listen to your music and maybe get some more followers, I do find that unless you're going to do retargeting campaigns, them same listeners who listen to your song once may not listen to your next song, which means that the listeners do not cross over as well to the next song unless you want to pay more money for it. And let's be honest, everyone is on a budget. And then when it comes to stuff like the DMing and keeping on top of engagement, that's all really good. But I do feel like, one, the DMing now is a bit spammy, and I do feel like spam is frowned upon a lot more when it comes to social media now and cracked down a lot more by the servers. So DMing isn't as effective as it once was because nowadays you can message someone out the blue and it will just go straight into their review section of their Instagram DMs, which now leaves short form content, which in 2024 is the best way in my opinion to promote music because it's free and it has just as good as reach as a Facebook campaign. But the problem was finding the right content to be able to promote music and the reason why for making the content. Now, just quickly before I touch on what I've been doing in 2024 and the whole point of this video, I just want to quickly talk about music and the whole philosophy behind it now in 2024. See, before it used to be a thing where the song was the centerpiece of everything when it came to marketing, but nowadays the content is the more important thing when it comes to releasing music. The reason for that being, with so much music out there and so much content at the swipe of a finger, it is now really easy for your music to get lost in the noise, which is social media. So you can release a song, put all the marketing in the world into it, but I can guarantee 90% of people who listen to the song will have forgotten about it in 2 weeks' time, just for the simple fact that there's so much other content to be consumed out there, which means nowadays it's really hard for your music to be the centerpiece of your marketing and everything, and all the more reason for why you should be focusing more on the content. Especially with TikTok's integration with music nowadays, it certainly seems the best way to be promoting your music. So with that all said, I decided to make a batch of content, which I did in a previous video, by the way, which you can check out. And the whole purpose was I was going to release all of this content and just going to share the results for you to see how I did, especially this was off the back of releasing a new song. Now, before I do share the results, I just want to quickly touch on the actual releasing of music as well, because I do feel like it's going to be very important going into 2024, because as I said about the demand for content, so more than ever you have to be releasing music on a consistent basis. So my aim this year is to release a song around every 2 to 3 weeks. Now, you don't have to do that, but I do recommend that you release music more frequently, because I know for a fact my plan is to upload about 3 pieces of content a day when promoting the music that I was releasing. So now I've got all that out of the way, let's actually talk about the result and what we can take away from this. So this is my TikTok profile here, as you can see. Now, we've got 932 followers, and the best thing we can say for start is when we first started this content experiment where we made a batch of content, we were uploading 3 to 5 times a day for 2 weeks, and I really made sure that the content was a lot higher quality than I've ever done on TikTok, especially because, as you can see, my TikTok page is in the 300 view jail of TikTok. So I set myself the goal of not worrying about getting loads of views on my content, but just making sure anyone who was watching my content was someone who actually cared about the music that I was releasing. So even though you can see 932 followers here, I've actually gained over 300 followers since the start of the year, since starting to post content. Now, to put that into context, if I was to work out the average of that and spread it over the year, being consistent with my current content strategy, I would have another 7,800 followers by the end of the year, meaning that if I kept at this pace till the end of the year and everything went well, at the very least on an average basis I would have 8,700 followers, which would be a very good return on the content uploaded, and you'd like to think would be people who'd be interested in streaming your music, and that'd be 8,700 people potentially who would then go to Spotify or Apple Music and listen to your music when you release a new song every time. And unlike stuff like Spotify, playlist placements, or Facebook ads, these are people who will stick around and will see your content again for free. You don't have to pay to retarget them at all. Now, as for the content itself, I wanted to do location stuff, and I had this idea that I was going to have a theme going on for the song. So the song I released was called Help Me Out, and the content I was releasing, I decided I was going to wear a blue jumper to try and have some sort of association with the song. So the whole idea behind this was, because I knew I wasn't going to get more than 300 views, if I looked very similar in all of them, people would recognize me, and once they saw 3 or 4 of my videos, they'd be more inclined to follow because they would be able to associate that with me. This is more of a salesman tactic more than anything, using the rule of letting someone see something 3 times before they're interested in it. But there were drawbacks to this, which I will touch on in a second. But as you can see, there was a lot of content that was uploaded. I recorded in batch, and I recorded some longer videos which I could chop up. So I recorded about 15-16 videos, chopped it up. By the end I'd done all that, I had about 35 videos which I've been uploading, and I've been doing some green screen stuff as well, along with some picture content. On top of that as well, I also did some content for old songs which I've released years ago, because I didn't want to just shove this one song down everyone's throat constantly. So I made sure I had a mixture up in there. So I was promoting 3 songs in total, 2 of them which I'd previously released, and my latest one. Now, one of the big things which was a drawback was the fact, because I don't have 1,000 followers, I couldn't put the link in my bio, so I can't actually tell for sure what the definitive results were, or be able to track how many people actually went from TikTok to listen to my new song. I also was running some Facebook ads at the time, as I always do when a new song comes out. Now, I know I said I couldn't track exactly what effect all this TikTok content had on my Spotify. I'm just going to show you through Spotify for Artists and here, so you can kind of work out how it might have affected my stream. So basically, first, the 3 songs that we actually promoted was Sunrise, Help Me Out, and Loved by Somebody. There were the 3 songs which was persistent in the content we uploaded. We're now at 1,201 monthly listeners. Now, the one thing I've got to say is we have been running Facebook ads to this, but one thing that's really cool that's happened this year is, since I've started releasing more music, I definitely have noticed there's a spike in the amount of songs been added to playlists, and also my followers has gone up very significantly. But let's have a look at this in Spotify for Artists so we can get the best idea of this. So firstly, this is my new song Help Me Out, which has come out, and it's got 1,366 streams. It came out on the 5th of January. So I'd work out it's been out 2 weeks to date. We've had a very steady amount of people listening to it. We did run a Facebook ad campaign to Help Me Out already. So when we look at the all-time listeners, we've got 393 listeners. I know for a fact about 300 of them came from either Spotify algorithmic playlists or the Facebook ad campaign. So I do actually feel there's about 90 listeners that are unaccounted for, which you like to think came from TikTok, because that was the only other place that I was driving people to listen to my music. What is really interesting though is for my song Sunrise, it's now at 8,000 streams. I actually released this way back in November of last year, and any sort of Facebook ads stopped at the beginning of December around here. Now, one thing you could probably normally notice is a song after a while will fizzle out, but it was at the start of this year. So on the 1st of January, we started posting all the content, and listeners have actually slowly, even though you can't really tell, has been slightly going up, and we've been getting more listeners from our music. Especially at the start of the month, I was posting a lot of content about this song, so you can actually see there has been an increase in listeners since I started plugging this on my TikTok. Now, my last song, Loved by Somebody, you can see this came out a long time ago, so we're really going to be able to tell if any effect had happened, because we did probably do about 1/5 of the content for Loved by Somebody, and it actually had the most engagement and resonated with the most people. So this song is definitely one for me to keep in mind for the future when I'm doing TikToks, because I feel like I could definitely promote the song a lot more. You can see here, if we go to the 1st of January when we started plugging the song, again there was at least one post every couple of days on here, and we've actually had a really nice spike in the streams that we're getting. Now again, this could be attributed to the fact we've released a new song, but we've released loads of new music since then and had hardly as good a spike as we're having right now with Loved by Somebody. And I did post on this day 2 pieces of content for this song, and we've gained some listeners. So you can see people were in fact coming from TikTok to listen to the song, which is very cool. And on top of that, someone added it to their playlist as well, which is another big win. So if we look overall since the start of January, you can see that our listeners has been increasing by the day, every single day. So that is something to really be positive about with the content, and we can at least confirm that people are definitely going to stream my music from TikTok. We just don't know the exact number of people. And this is something I'll only be able to know once I get a link in my bio on TikTok, so I can track clicks from that site to Spotify and Apple Music. And then that's when I'll be able to tell you exactly how many people are actually going from TikTok. But the one thing I will say is, for the whole point of this experiment, I actually wasn't focusing solely on just getting streams on my new song. It was about a lot more than that. It was starting to build a community and learning what sort of content worked best with people. It was about trying to find the right content which would resonate resonate with the right people, so when I release my next song, I would be able to get it a lot better than this one. This was just a massive experiment, and I just wanted to try things that I'd never tried before to see what would work and what wouldn't. Now, you want to know what did work and what didn't work. So one mistake I realized that I did make with releasing all of this content was actually what I thought would work, and that was the blue jumper. So even though it's good to have a common theme, I do feel like I could have diversified my content a lot more, done a few different locations, and also done a few different clothing options to mix up the content, because after a while I do feel like it was a little bit samey. Even though the content that I was making was good, a lot of it just looked the same after a while. Next time I do batch content, I'll make sure to take a couple more outfits, because I feel like it will be a lot more rewarding to our audience to see you mixing up and do different things. It sounds silly, even something like a different jumper, but trust me, it's the little things like that which can keep an audience coming back to you, because at the end of the day they will recognize your face, and I do feel like I could have done something a little bit differently when it came to that. Now the next thing I learned, which I think is really important actually, was when I first started making the content, I wasn't getting as much engagement as I thought I would, even though the content looked good, and that's because I wasn't invoking an emotional response from anyone I was listening to. Every time I was uploading a bit of content, I was telling someone to check out my song, and if I'm being honest, I had to ask myself the question after uploading about 10 pieces of the content, is like, if I came across a bit of content and someone just told me to check out the song, I'd be more inclined to say no than yes. So one thing I mixed up quite early on was actually starting to do POV things and trying to be more relatable and actually speak about the music and why I made the music, because doing this gave the viewer a chance to actually think a lot more about if this is actually the song for them. Instead of trying to force the song down their ears, you're giving them the chance to choose for themselves if this is the song for them. And I did find the best way to do that was to just explain what the song's about, why I wrote the song, why I released music, mixed in with just some relatable little jokes at the start and not taking myself too seriously. I started to find that that was the content which got the best engagement, when I actually wasn't taking myself too seriously at all. So again, what are the big takeaways from this experiment which can help you guys when it comes to releasing your own music and creating your content? Well, the first thing I would say is to not focus at all in anything from the statistics or the viewpoint of view. I found that I made my best content when I wasn't focusing on what might get the most views or has the most viral potential, but it was actually when I was making content which I thought might invoke some sort of emotional response, whether it be a question or trying to give something relatable that the audience can take something from, and sometimes just not even talking about the song at all. I actually found the best thing to do was actually to make the content and obviously make it relatable, and then give the option in the comments below to say, oh, by the way, if you do want to hear the full song, go check it out on Spotify, because then that is not the first thing the listener sees. So when they watch your content, it doesn't feel like you're trying to sell them something. It feels more like you're trying to present something to them in the form of content, which hopefully makes them feel something. And then once you have them emotionally invested, then that is when the best time to get them to listen to the music is. So then it's completely their decision at this point, and it's not you telling them to go listen to the song. This experiment for sure isn't over, because I now have another song coming out next Friday, so there's going to be a part 2 to this video. So if you are watching this video now, that will be on the 1st of February. The part 2 is coming, where I take everything I've learned so far in this experiment, everything I've told you, and I'm going to apply it again into the next song, and then I will share the results with you and see if we can do any better than the results that we've got from this content. But yeah guys, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, make sure you smash that subscribe button, as it's the best way to support the channel. Keep making music, and I'll see you in the next video.